Hello, my name is Wendelijn, and I'm an ancient historian. I'm a lover of philosophy. I'm an historian, and last year I had the privilege to open after you. And I started with a story about myself when I was 12 years old. And I was 12 years old, and I heard someone say on television that in our lifetimes, we all inhale one molecule of everyone who has ever lived on planet Earth before. And I was mesmerized. I thought that was fascinating. And my 12-year-old brain went to people like Tutankhamun and Martin Luther King, of whom I had just seen a snippet of his I Have a Dream speech. And as I said last year as well, luckily my 12-year-old brain didn't go to all the shitty people in the world who had gone before. And I'm going to leave them out of the story today as well. But to my 12-year-old brain, it felt as if I had sort of inhaled a little bit of stardust. And I took these great people with me on my journey through life. And although I think it led me in the end to actually study history and study female leadership, especially in the Roman era, I think it made me even more aware of the legacy that we have behind us. And although last year I spoke about these Roman women who I think can still cradle us into the future with their bold leadership in Roman times 2,000 years ago, what was really most important for me then was that you could take away this, that we are the recipients of an abundant legacy, and that we can take that with us, the wisdom and lived experience of all these great minds who have actually lived before us. And although we tend to think that nowadays we live in a world, a unique world, a world where disruption is common, chaos is around the corner, and we always fear a new crisis. This has been the case for every generation before us, even going back 2,500 years ago. And with that said, I just want to remind you that if we have inhaled a molecule of every single one of those great minds from the past, they lie dormant inside of us, ready to be awakened. And with that, I want to take you on a little time travel, and I hope you can join me in that. And again, after Kristen, I actually want to ask you if you can close your eyes, please. And we are going to travel back a long distance. And we're going to travel back to the year 330 before Christ. And I'm going to take you to Athens. And as you sit here on your chair, you feel the chair supporting you, supporting your body, your feet on the ground. You start to feel the wind picking up, and it's tugging at your clothes. And you feel it propelling you backward in time, 100 years back, 500 years back, 1,000 years back, and it speeds up 2,000 years back, and suddenly you land. And you're here. Your feet touch the ground and dust springs up around you on your sandaled feet because you're here in Athens. And as you start to realize that you're now here in Athens, you become aware that you hear the sounds, the hustle and bustle of ancient city life. You hear horse-drawn carriages around you. You hear people scream, people talk. It's busy, people bumping into you. You smell the concoction of city life, but you also smell the latent fragrance of freedom, because Athens, 100 years back, invented democracy. It's a proud city, and it's a city of wisdom as well, a city of philosophers and of academic thought, and that's why we're here. And as you become aware of your surroundings, you start to walk because you have a purpose. And as you walk through around the people, you walk out of the city, You leave the hustle and bustle behind, and you venture out into the outskirts of the city where the nature is welcoming you. And you are on your way to Aristotle's school, Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher. And his Lyceum opens because it's almost 5 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock, his Lyceum opens for the people, because wisdom, philosophy, should not be come upon in isolation. It is created in unison. And the great minds from all over the Mediterranean gather here to study, but we as regular citizens are welcomed as well. And as you find your spot and you sit down, you look around you and you see other seekers of wisdom as well, other philosophers ready to gain wisdom, ready to use that wisdom in their everyday lives and in their leadership. And as you sit down, you close your eyes and you feel that wind picking up again, but this time propelling you forward in time, 500 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, and finally you land back here in the room. And as you open your eyes here, again, you see a whole room, a room full of women and men seeking wisdom, philosophers, I like to think, as well. And you can take this abundant legacy into your leadership and everyday life. But why do I want to take you to Athens? Why did I take you on this trip? Well, first of all, I want you to feel that we have such a big legacy and big shoulders of giants to stand on. Not only European history, of course, it's African history, it's Asian history. We all have our own cultural legacy to tap into. But where I want you to take you, is to the importance of friendship in leadership, according to, among others, Aristotle. But the second philosopher I like to introduce to you today is Cicero, here in Rome as well, because I cannot let this chance escape to also include a Roman historian, of course, a Roman philosopher. But listen, how can the thought on friendship in ancient philosophy aid you in your leadership nowadays? Let me explain. First of all, what I want you to know is that the ancient word for philosopher, and I used here the Greek origin, philosophos, actually means lover of wisdom. Philo means lover, and sophos, the female name Sophia, is wisdom. So philosophy was nothing more than lovers of wisdom, wisdom of life in general. And in their opinion, wisdom of life in general was the same and equal to wisdom for leadership. So that's why I want us all to become philosophers today. And what did I have to say about friendship in leadership? Well, I start with Aristotle, as I promised. And he had actually quite an interesting division in the types of friendship that he saw sort of being created around him. And the 3 types of friendship he saw were these 3. And the first one is a bit dubious because it does remind us of a sort of a modern phrase, which means completely something different. He saw friends for benefit. I wouldn't recommend the second one as a leadership option, but friend for benefit. And his idea of a friend for benefit was the citizens of a city, the people in institutions. You have to become friends for a purpose with each other, because you have to have, when you are living in a city, you have to create a just system for everyone, and a system that is beneficial for everyone. So that's an interesting one. So in a community, a political or a corporate community, you have to become friends. Friends for benefit. The second one was friends for pleasure, and we all know them. Those are the friends we go to the bar with, have a drink, have a laugh, and these have their place as well. We need those as well. And actually, when we look at our work, we also need those around us in our company as well. People you can have a laugh with at the coffee machine, or you can have just a little break in your day. But his third one, the friends of virtue, which sound a little bit serious and stern, is actually the most valuable of all. And that's the friendship that exists between like-minded people. People with the same core values. And he thought that was the most special kind of friendship. And I believe we all know that kind of friendship, the one where you have to invest in, but you also know, yes, this is what matches. We share the same makeup in life and the same goals. And this is also an interesting reflection, just to let you know that ancient philosophers thought that what is good for you or what would make you happy, it inherently meant that it should be good for the community as well. They thought there cannot be happiness or success if it's only for the individual. As the later Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, said, what's good for the hive is good for the bee, meaning if it's only beneficial for yourself, it cannot be real happiness, real success, or true leadership. But I also said, Cicero sort of added on to this, and I think that's where it really gets interesting, and I want to leave you in a couple of minutes with his thought on friendship. And he actually wrote a book on it, and it's called De Amicitia. He also wrote a book on leadership. That's how interchangeable these concepts actually were. And he gives us practical tools, and I think you will find out that it ties in with a lot of modern research into leadership and how to deal with these modern, interesting, challenging times. And the first aspect is we have to treat as leaders and friends, we have to treat each other as equals. And in friendship, we might find that quite normal, but he says in leadership, you really need to take that very serious as well. Because if you are equals, then sometimes you're the teacher and the other time you're the student. And I think if we look at our own leadership, we all know what that really means. We are both teachers and students, and you have to interact with each other in that way. The second point he made was that actually you have to lead in a friendship, but also as a leader, with your virtue, which meant with your core values. And I think, like yesterday, Sonia mentioned leading with love. And he thought leading with your core values in a friendship is key to having a great blossoming relationship. The third was spending quality time. And certainly in this day and age, it sounds quite difficult with people, certainly when you look at your leadership, people working remotely. But people nowadays also say, researchers say, invest in this quality time, in real life connection with the people you lead. You need that. And in friendship, that was crucial as well. You need to spend time with each other and really invest on a quality-based principle. The fourth, and that it ties in perfectly with the speaker before me, is you need to listen actively, really listen. And I think yesterday Anthony mentioned it as well. He said, you have to shut up for the others not to shut down. And Epictetus, another philosopher 2,000 years ago, said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them accordingly. So use them accordingly. And the last point I want to make is that Cicero meant, he said, you have to be honest in your communication. You have to be real with each other. And that encompasses also kindness. You don't have to be rude. And I think Ginny de Boer yesterday said that as well. You can be, she named her core values. I think it was trust, vulnerability, and there was kindness. And I think if you're clear on your core values and you are able to communicate them, you are so trustworthy and you are really transparent, but moreover, people feel that you are connected. So, we are, I hope, all philosophers as we sit here. And I hope you can bring some of these aspects into your leadership and into your everyday life. And as Cicero said, with the exception of wisdom, I'm inclined to believe that the immortal gods have given us nothing better to humanity than true friendship. Because life without friendship is not worth living. And that's a bold statement, but I think he was really right. And I think we can actually even say that leadership without friendship might even not be worth leading. So what I want you to say, this is one of the, talking about friendship, this is one of the researchers also writing on relationships that ties in really nicely. But what I wanted to say, what I want you to take away from this is, please be a philosopher. Remain to be an eternal seeker of wisdom. Secondly, realize you have inhaled a molecule or two and feel that legacy of wisdom and lived experience behind you. And finally, be a friend. Be a friend in life and be a friend in leadership.
Thank you.
I thank you.